The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
Welcome to Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. It's the Daily Hour.
ChatGPT did become the world's most downloaded non-gaming app.
Literally the job of everyone in government to address the media and the public.
What are your thoughts, audience? What are your thoughts on Zandy Silva as the deputy PLP leader?
A community that can't feed itself is a community that doing.
What you may not know, though, is that Bermuda, we have a connection with Epstein, too.
Things that people are doing right, the youth are doing right, that is not being advertised enough.
When you see your access to U.S. dollars disappear, that's when you have a problem.
You've got a town in the UK with a similar sized population. This place absolutely outshines it.
Oh, my apologies, folks. Well, hey, you just hear me. It's Tuesday, the 18th day of August, 2026. Welcome to Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. This is the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, HSBC Bermuda Medical House, Linda's, People's Pharmacy, and big love to Hot 1075 for ensuring that we can pump through the radio airwaves with these most important community conversations. I'm Jamal Hartman. How's everyone feeling today? I gave you a long weekend. You didn't have to see me for an extra day. And hopefully you used that time wisely and enjoyed your time off from me. But man, I go away for one extra day and so many things happen, right? We've got, the police reporting a collision yesterday where, I guess what was puzzling about this 3-vehicle collision in Southampton was that basically, the initial information suggests that 2 of the trucks were traveling in a westerly direction when one attempted to overtake the other. During the maneuver, it reportedly collided with that truck as well as a third truck traveling in the opposite direction before overturning and completely blocking the roadway. And there was another collision, unfortunate collision on North Shore in the vicinity of Tamarisk Hill in Smiths. That's North Shore down there in Smiths. It's just a lot going on. And then, of course, what we'll talk about today is the situation involving a Filipino woman. But anyway, folks, happy Tuesday to you. Greetings, everyone, and thanks for making us part of your daily routine. What does BELCO want you to know before the next hurricane? Well, Shelly Leman joins us from BELCO to discuss everything we need to know from how to prepare ourselves to go without power, what to do, or how to notify BELCO if you're without power, and what goes into BELCO preparing for hurricanes themselves. So if you have any questions or comments, get them ready. But hopefully it's been quiet so far, but we know the busiest part of hurricane season for Bermuda is September into October. So no better time than to have the expert from BELCO to come on and engage us live. Audience, in the meantime, don't forget to subscribe on our website, thedailyhour.com. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. All right. We've got James Burgess says, good morning to the Daily Hour team, showing, watching, and listening. To your guests, have a wonderful day. You as well. Great morning to you, James Burgess. Question of the morning is very simple. What are your thoughts on Bermuda's immigration process for expatriate workers? What are your thoughts on Bermuda's immigration process for expatriate workers? Well, something has quite a few Bermudians concerned after a social media post began circulating regarding an alleged fugitive reportedly living and working in Bermuda. Now, the Bermuda Police Service has responded to questions about the post, confirming that a 27-year-old woman is currently in police custody. Police said the matter is being handled in close liaison with overseas law enforcement and international policing partners. They also made it clear that this remains an active and sensitive matter, so there isn't much more they can say publicly at this time. Now, I think most people can appreciate that. If there's an active investigation and international legal processes taking place, the police shouldn't release information that could interfere with it. Their statement also confirms that this is more than just another WhatsApp forward making the rounds. But I think the situation raises a bigger question. How thorough is the process for determining who is allowed to come to Bermuda to live and work? Now, I want to be careful here. We don't know all the circumstances surrounding this particular individual, and being wanted or arrested doesn't make anyone guilty. We also don't know what information was available when the person entered Bermuda, or whether anything could reasonably have been detected by our authorities. So this isn't about judging one individual before the facts are known. It's about the system. Bermudians know how difficult it can be for us to enter or work in certain countries if we have criminal convictions. Some offenses can affect whether we're granted visas, allowed across borders, or given permission to work. I don't think it's unreasonable for Bermudians to ask what standards we're applying to people who come to Bermuda. What background checks are conducted before someone receives a work permit? What information does immigration have access to? Are criminal record checks required in every case? Are those checks international or limited to someone's country of residence? What happens if someone has lived in several different countries? And how often are these things reviewed after someone has been given permission to live and work in Bermuda? I don't know the answers to all of those questions. And that's exactly why I think this is an opportunity for government or the Department of Immigration to reassure the public. This shouldn't become an anti-immigration conversation. Bermuda needs people from around the world. And the overwhelming majority of people who come to Bermuda to work and are doing exactly that. They're working, they're contributing, and becoming part of our community. But being welcoming doesn't mean we shouldn't have standards. If we expect Bermudians to respect the immigration and legal requirements of other countries, it's reasonable to expect people coming to Bermuda to meet ours as well. The police appear to be doing their job with the situation currently before them. Now I think the public deserves some clarity about the bigger process. Not information that compromises this particular case, but information that helps Bermudians understand what safeguards are already in place and whether there are any gaps that need addressing. We shouldn't use one case to assume there are hundreds more like this. But we also shouldn't wait for several cases before asking whether the system is working. Audience, you see the question on the screen. You know what's being said in the public. CNN shared a story on Sunday. The Royal Gazette has now entered the fray. What are your thoughts based on what you know on Bermuda's immigration process for expatriate workers? Think about it, share your thoughts, and we'll be back to get into the discussion.
People's ACW, located at King Edward VII Memorial Hospital, carries over-the-counter medicines, toys, cards, and even toiletries. Our knowledgeable staff are there whether you're at emergency, visiting family, or a member of BHB staff, to show you our best even when you're feeling your worst. People's ACW, we're here for you.
All right, audience, this is your daily discussion brought to you by Titan Express and Secure. Again, what are your thoughts on Bermuda's immigration process for expatriate workers? And here's your poll question for the day. Are you confident in Bermuda's work permit screening process after this situation? So if you are just tuning in, we're talking about the situation involving someone who's alleged to have committed a murder in the Philippines, allegedly arrested in Bermuda. Now, I want to be clear. We have to keep the individual case separate from the bigger issue. The woman in custody, right? There is a woman in custody, but we don't know the full circumstances or facts. So let's avoid trying to the case publicly. Like, let's not get into that case publicly. Now, the Bermuda Police Service response is kind of reassuring, right? They confirmed they're working with overseas law enforcement and international policing partners, which suggests that established processes are being followed. Now, the bigger conversation is about screening. What checks take place from someone before someone is permitted to live and work in Bermuda? I think those are the important questions this morning. And I think that's what we need to know, right? So again, audience, what are your thoughts on Bermuda's immigration process for expatriate workers? And also, are you confident in Bermuda's work permit screening process? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Let's go to the audience. Dr. Anthony Richardson says, the process for issuing an international arrest warrant can take time. It can be a long and drawn out process. A lot also depends on how quickly the Philippines sought the arrest of this person. Well, you're a lawyer, and I appreciate you sharing that. And I think what Dr. Anthony Richardson's saying, folks, is manage your expectations. The most layman way I can say is when you read a court case in the news or hear about one in the news, chances are the situation happened years prior. Processes don't happen overnight. And I know a lot of us watch TV and watch the movies and like TV shows. But these things can and do take time. And I think that's what Dr. Anthony Richardson is driving home with this. And so I don't know the ins and outs of how immigration works. But what I will say is that it's hard to blame Bermuda immigration for something that doesn't exist. What do I mean by that? I don't know the exact timeline. So I'm not even going to speculate or assume based on what I came up with myself. I'm not even going to share that. But it's quite possible that this person applied for work prior and accepted and moved prior to the warrant being issued. And if that's the case, then our immigration and government deserves grace, as well as the employer. However, what I did mention in my opening, right, which is a valid question, is how often do our immigration or the employer or government follow up on each person to make sure they're in good standing? Like, what's that process? Is it only when the work permit expires? Now, keep in mind, we're talking resources here. So I am completely okay if government says, well, we don't have the resources, because they don't. And remember, we want a lot of other things done. It's about giving grace, folks. Again, we're talking about the situation. If you're just tuning in and if you're living under a rock, there was a situation where a woman is in custody. An expatriate worker in Bermuda is in custody. We don't know the full circumstances or facts. We just kind of know what's been shared on social media. The police have confirmed that they are working with overseas law enforcement and policing partners. But there's a bigger question here that people are asking, right? They're asking about the screening process for expatriate workers into Bermuda. They want to know about police certificate. What does it tell immigration? Does it actually only cover someone's home country? What about other places they've lived? Like, I just learned someone who's applied for a green card in the US, and they had to actually get a police report or a background check for the time they spent in the UK living for school. That was new to me. because I have only lived in two countries, Bermuda and the United States. People have valid questions. What happens after someone arrives in Bermuda? If a person that's arrived in Bermuda becomes wanted overseas after receiving a work permit, how quickly would Bermuda authorities know? Is information shared internationally in real time? I think Bermudians have valid questions, valid concerns, and all this. Again, audience, what are your thoughts on Bermuda's immigration process for expatriate workers? And also the poll, based on this situation, right? Are you confident in Bermuda's work permit screening process? 1 for yes, 2 for no. We've got Suzanne Ingham says, doesn't everyone have to be vetted by the police? Are they being vetted? Well, yeah, this doesn't really say that the police aren't vetting, because we don't know, the circumstances. This person could have been vetted and accepted before anything came to light, right? Dr. Anthony Richardson says, we also need to determine if there's an repatriation agreement between Bermuda and the Philippines for the handing over of this person back to custody of the Philippines. So that would be the extradition process, right? Would it be between Bermuda and Philippines or the UK? Because Bermuda falls under the United Kingdom. I don't know. I'm genuinely asking. Would it be between Bermuda and the UK? The Philippines and the UK? Like, would Bermuda fall under the UK, or would it be between the Philippines and Bermuda? Manuel says, unfortunately, if an individual has not been prosecuted before the application is received, that information is not available to the immigration department. Again, so this is interesting because I know, I want to say in the US, they ask you, are you currently before the courts or are you currently being investigated for something? So, Manuela, what you're saying is, if they haven't been prosecuted, maybe we need to add, are you being currently investigated for something? But again, maybe this individual wasn't being currently investigated or may not have known they were. Well, maybe the question, are there any known warrants for your arrest? I don't know. I don't know. Dorian says, morning, my opinion is that the lady became a person of interest after she left the Philippines. So Bermuda's immigration cannot be faulted for allowing her to arrive here. That's what I am. Honestly, Dorian, I think I'm where you're at. Folks, this is your daily discussion brought to you by Titan Express and Secure, but I'm where Dorian's at. I feel like, based on the timelines I've seen, she probably became a person of interest after the fact. When I say after the fact, after she had already, gotten her documents to relocate to Bermuda. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I will say this much. It's a bad look. It's a bad look. But it's also, it's not a bad look necessarily for Bermuda and our immigration department. It's not. It's really not. I think it's a bad look overall, but I don't know if it falls on Bermuda and the immigration department. I think this falls on the individual involved if they are guilty of the crimes that they've alleged to have committed. I don't want to say that Bermuda immigration or government dropped the ball. I just don't believe that they did. They can only make decisions based on what they know. And if the information wasn't available, then we got to give them grace, right? Or am I being too friendly? Now, 100% of you so far have said you're not confident in Bermuda's work permit screening process. I completely understand those who say no. I do. Let's go to Dr. Anthony Richardson says, I don't think The government has the resources to continuously follow up on criminal activities overseas. The onus has to be on the country of origin to make the criminal act known. I agree. I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. Dr. Anthony Richardson goes on to say, yes, the agreement would be between the UK and the Philippines. It would then be extended to Bermuda by the... That's what I thought. Thank you for that, Dr. Anthony Richardson. That's what I thought. It would definitely be the UK and Bermuda. All right, audience, again, that's your daily discussion brought to you by Titan Express and Secure. We've got, it's Tuesday, first show of the week. So we've got your Bermudian icons of the week. So we'll give you that. We've got Manuela real quickly says a thief or any other criminal may be known to a neighborhood, but not to the authorities. Fair point. Fair point. And I see the analogy there. All right, so 100% of you say you're confident, you are not confident in Bermuda's work permit screening process. Understandable. Understandable. And of course, Suzanne is echoing many people. Suzanne Ingham says, I'm now wondering, are there more like this lady in Bermuda? That's always going to be the case because, people feel like if one person slips through the cracks, how many others have? And that's fair. I guess that's fair. That's fair. All right, folks. Let's show some love to Titan Express and Secure. Then we will give you your Bermudian icon for the week, and then we'll do a Days of the Year, take our break, and we've got a very special guest coming up. Always a pleasure to have Shelly on this show. Shelly Leman from BELCO, Manager Director over there. We're going to be talking about hurricane preparedness. And folks, I'm not here to make excuses for BELCO, but some of you are just ridiculous. No, seriously. Let's have a conversation. A hurricane's coming, the lights go out. We just spoke about government resources. Folks, unfortunately, they can't turn on everyone's lights at the same time. Somebody's going to have to be first, second, third, fourth. Manage our expectations. But I'm glad Shelly's here to help us, understand that process. But alrighty, let's show some love to Titan Express and Secure. Then again, we'll do a Bermudian icons, Days of the Year, go to a break, and then come back and have a very important community conversation with Shelly Leman. Stick with us. The daily discussion is brought to you by Titan Express and Secure. Titan Express delivers safe, professional, and reliable transportation and tours across the island. From island tours to cultural expressions, they set their standard. And Secure is your go-to for property management, waste management, and residential and commercial services. Visit securebda.com. Professional, punctual, and reliable service is their commitment to you. All righty, folks. Well, it is the first show of the week, and let's go to see who our Bermudian icon is this week, brought to you by our friends over at ZipX.
Welcome to TDH's Bermudian Icon series, brought to you by the great folks at ZipX. When people talk about Bermuda's greatest public servants, Dr. Gaynell Hayward Caesar deserves to be part of that conversation. For almost 50 years, she's helped shape healthcare on the island in ways most of us will never fully see. She began her career as a nurse caring for mothers and newborns, eventually becoming the first ever black manager of the maternity ward at KMH. Then she grew into the position of Bermuda's chief nursing officer, where she helped strengthen the island's nursing profession overall, improving public health services, mentoring generations of nurses, and playing a key leadership role during the COVID-19 pandemic. But perhaps her greatest legacy started in 1998, when she established Bermuda's Sexual Assault Response Team, or SART. By bringing together specially trained forensic nurses, police, counselors, and prosecutors, she transformed how Bermuda responds to sexual assault, ensuring survivors receive compassionate care while preserving the evidence needed to pursue justice. It's difficult, often invisible work, but its impact is immeasurable. Dr. Gaynell Hayward Caesar didn't just care for patients, she built systems that continue protecting Bermudians every single day. That's the kind of legacy that lasts for generations. And that's today's Bermudian Icon series, brought to you by the great folks at ZipX. Now back to the show.
All righty. What a moment. Beautiful contribution to Bermuda's society and community nurse there, Mrs. Gaynell Hayward Caesar. Folks, make sure you follow Bermudian Icons on your favorite social media platform to show your love. And also, young people get a chance to find out who some of Bermuda's icons are. Look, as we said, not everyone's going to necessarily be a hero, but many people have done some iconic things that have contributed greatly to what we enjoy today. All right, days of the year. Well, it's Never Give Up Day. And I want to ask you all, what is something you've never given up on? Name something you've never given up on. Something I've never given up on, or someone. Honestly, I would have to say our conscription battle. When we were fighting to end conscription, everybody's, oh, you guys will lose this, then the other. We never gave up. We were steadfast that we would not serve in the Bermuda Regiment under conscription. And we didn't give up. And we kept going and going and going. And it cost us. It's still costing us today. But what is something in honor of national, I'm saying national, it's international, in honor of Never Give Up Day, in honor of Never Give Up Day, what's something that you have never given up on? Never given up on. We've got Dr. Anthony Richardson says, my faith and sense of self. We've got Nicole Walker says, learning and experiencing new things, never giving up on learning and experiencing new things. All right. We've got 9/11 Island Girl says, never given up fighting for the rights of children, never will. All right. We've got Dorian says, trying to lose weight. I'm still trying. Hey, keep going, Dorian. We're all behind you. We are all behind you. Look, keep it coming. Let us know something you've never given up on. We're going to take a quick break. And don't forget, after this break, we're coming back. Very important community conversation with Shelly Leman from BELCO. Stick with us.
Guess what? Bermuda's most popular game is back. That's right, Shoebuy is back in stores. But wait, there's more. The brand new Shoebuy Summer Edition is here too. Bring the laughs, the vibes, the friendly chaos to your barbecues and summer get-togethers with Bermuda's favorite game. Don't miss your chance to get yours. Visit BermudaTrivia.com and follow Bermuda Trivia on social media to learn more.
One Lucky Bucks in the summer edition has a golden ticket with the chance to win a grand prize courtesy of One Communications.
Hi there, welcome to Medical House. We're located at number 6 Bakery Lane. I can't wait to show you all of the great stuff that we carry. Come on inside, let's see. Long days, long shifts, you no longer have to endure comfortable underwear. Designed by nurses, we now offer premium undergarments by Swoop that are unique, fun, comfortable, and functional. The only underwear you'll ever want to wear. Who says high-quality functional products can't be stylish and comfortable at the same time?
See it all at our new expanded location on Bakery Lane.
Discover Drop It, your go-to grocery delivery. Browse and select from a wide range of groceries, from fresh produce to daily essentials. Our friendly drivers deliver fresh groceries to your door fast, saving you time and hassle. With Drop It, you get fresh groceries delivered fast, so you can focus on what really matters. Drop It. Freshness at your doorstep. Delivered to your door with Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
Ace boy, I see you got your U.S. cash. Traveling again? Rich auntie, what's your secret?
Nah, I just use the new HSBC Bermuda travel website.
I know about cash back, but it's got a travel website too?
Yeah, and it's lit. Flights, hotels, rentals, book it all in one spot and use your reward points instantly. No blackout dates, no delays. I'm going, ba.
What you mean use your points instantly?
Yeah, ba. Go on the site, see how many points you've got from all that shopping you've been doing. And if you ain't got enough for what you want, just use your HSBC credit card and top it up with some more points.
Okay, spend the points, stack some more. I see, I'm got you now.
I know, right?
Log on to redeem.hsbc.bm. Book your travel deal. Pay with your points. No blackout dates. Easy and hassle-free. Visit redeem.hsbc.bm and get going. HSBC. Opening up a world of opportunity. HSBC is licensed to conduct banking and investment business by the Bermuda Monetary Authority.
Ever taken medication and thought, why is this hitting me so hard? Or why isn't this doing anything at all? Here's something you may not know. Your body processes medication the same way it needs to process food, using enzymes. And these enzymes metabolize medication so it can be converted into its useful form or removed from your body. Pharmacogenetics looks at how your DNA influences the way your body metabolizes or breaks down medications. It helps explain why a drug that works well for one person causes side effects in another and barely works at all for someone else. That means the same pill at the same dose can feel very different from one person to the next. It's not about blame, it's not about doing something wrong, it's simply biology. And once you know what works best for you, medication decisions stop being guesswork and start becoming personalized.
Alrighty, welcome back to the big show. Jamal Hartman here. This is the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, HSBC Bermuda, Medical Host, Lindo's People's Pharmacy, and big love to Hot 107.5 for ensuring that we can pump through the radio airwaves with these most important community conversations. Folks, don't forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. I did say it is Never Give Up Day, and one of the things, a couple more people said some things. We had Heatherly and Stevenson. Swan says weight loss and eating clean, never given up on. And we've also got James Burgess, weight issues, has never given up on weight issues. Myself, I said, never gave up on our fight to end conscription, despite 90% of the Bermudian public being against us and saying we won't win. But hey, here we are today. But that said, we've got a very special guest today, folks. And let me make sure I have the right music. No sirens running. All right. So Shelly Leman, Managing Director over at BELCO. And, we have so many questions, comments, and unfortunately complaints during hurricane season. We know what it is, or maybe we don't. And that's why we utilize this platform to bring the experts on, like Shelly, so that we can engage you. I ask you every day, make sure you're sharing the conversations with your friends, your family, your colleagues. Why? Because so often things are discussed on a public platform like this, and then you see people on social media. And what are they doing? BELCO doesn't do this. BELCO isn't doing that. And it's not just BELCO. Their communications this, their communications that. Then I look and I'm like, well, they have communicated it here. They communicated it there, right? This is why these community conversations that we have are so important. So without further ado, let me stop blabbing and let's welcome Shelly Leman on for a very important conversation about what we all need to know before the next hurricane or storm knocks our power out. Please welcome Shelly Leman.
Good morning, Jamal. Morning. Doing well, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. I got to ask you, though, what is something you've never given up on?
What is something I've never given up on? My family.
There you go. I think my family would probably say that about me. They're like, yeah, we never gave up on you because, boy, had we, you would have. Yeah.
Family, friends, that's what keeps life, right? Those are the important connecting rods, so.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you for joining us for this conversation. I wasn't trying to sensationalize just now, but you get me. Like every year, I mean, it's at least 4 times a year. It doesn't even have to be a storm, and it's like, but BELCO did communicate that, and for me, I'm like, yes, I have a BELCO bill, but I'm not stationed in Bermuda, year round. So I still look out because, my Nana lives in the house and you want to make sure things are good. But before we jump into the conversation and what we're talking about today, just tell the audience a bit about your background and what it is that you do at BELCO.
Sure. So I'm Shelly Leman. I'm the managing director responsible for transmission, distribution, and retail here at BELCO. So that's a lot of words. What does it mean? It means that my team, which are all the guys that you see out during a storm, our line crews, so that includes the overhead linemen, our cable jointers, our electrical fitters as well, engineering team, our operations center, customer care, that's all my crew. So we're really, our team are the ones that are responsible for making sure that your lights are on after a storm. And obviously you talk to our girls down in the customer experience team whenever you have a question about your billing, or maybe even during a storm and about the response.
Indeed. Thank you for that. And audience, if you have any questions or comments for Shelly throughout the conversation, send them through. We'll get through as many as possible. Now, hurricane preparedness begins long before a storm reaches Bermuda. What does BELCO do behind the scenes to prepare the island's electricity infrastructure for hurricane season?
Sure. I would say, number one, it's about maintaining our assets. Obviously, that happens throughout the year. The other critical piece specific to hurricanes is, we follow incident command structure whenever a hurricane is approaching or whenever we have impacts from a storm. So in the months leading up to a hurricane, what we would be doing is taking a look at our plan, making sure that we have up-to-date contact information for all of our team members, making sure we have the assignments as to who's going to be the incident commander, who's going to be the planner responsible for making sure all the works get planned, and then really identifying who the crews will be, because we typically split up the island into 5 or 6 regions and we assign crews to those different areas. So we would start putting those pieces of the puzzle together well in advance so that when a storm is approaching, we can finalize those details pretty quickly. Some of the other things that we may be doing, and you've heard me talk about this a lot, we have over 30 substations around the island, but we focus in on the ones at the extremities of the island. So up in Somerset, down in St. George's, we make sure that we have critical spares stocked up in those substations in the event that a storm comes to us. These are items that particularly the overhead line crews would be using quite frequently. And we'd make sure that all of those, tools, materials are stockpiled at the different ends of the island, so that we don't have a lot of transportation going back and forth between BELCO and the extremities during storm response.
Indeed.
So yeah, and it's really a year-round thing, because you really want to make sure that you're keeping on top of everything, not just during the time that a storm is approaching, but well in advance.
I was going to say, as you were talking, I'm like, I know we're talking hurricane season, but that seems like it just is a general thing to you all. Yeah.
Yeah.
Real quickly, we've got I usually don't go to comments, but there's kind of something funny. Charles H. Jefferson II, he says, she's the hurricane lady.
That's my voice. Yes. So that would be my voice that you hear typically during a storm, giving you updates about, how many customers are out, where big pockets of outages are throughout the island. And we try to get as much information out onto social media as possible.
Indeed. Now from a customer's perspective, what should residents be doing now around their homes and properties to prepare for the possibility of a hurricane and power outages?
Sure. So there's a lot that we can be doing. So the first thing would be take a look at your hurricane kit, number one. Make sure that your batteries are up to date, because sometimes we have these kits sitting in a cupboard somewhere. The batteries have exploded in a box somewhere. So number one, checking your flashlights, checking your batteries, making sure everything's up to date, making sure your hurricane kit is actually stocked. I like to keep one of those Rubbermaid or whatever Tupperware containers, and I put all my flashlights and batteries and materials that I may need for a hurricane, and I have it in one box. Mm-hmm. And that way I can grab a hold of it at the beginning of the season pretty quickly, check through it, make sure the supplies are up to date, and if I need to make a run to one of the hardware stores, I can do that pretty quickly. The next piece is we've had a lot of rain this year, so vegetation has been growing quite wildly, so we've got a bit of lush vegetation. We've had some hot periods as well, but making sure that your property, the boundaries, the vegetation is cut back away from any of the lines. That would be key now before any hurricanes start popping up. Also checking in with your elderly neighbors, with your parents, grandparents, making sure that their storm kits are prepared, making sure that the vegetation around their houses is all, cut and trimmed down nicely. Now's the time to do those type of things, not, in the immediate days before a storm, because we just want to make sure that everybody's set and that we're not all rushing around. We all know how it is a day or two before a hurricane's coming. You try to go to Gorham's and there's lines out the door. So avoid all that and start doing it now.
Indeed. Audience, if you have any questions or comments for Shelly, we're talking hurricane preparedness, please send them through. Now, if Bermuda experiences widespread outages following a storm, now this is a big one, Shelly, because this is the big argument all over social media every time. How does BELCO determine which areas are restored first? And what should customers understand about the restoration process?
Okay. Much to I think everybody assumes that during a hurricane, the first response is to get people like me or other BELCO employees get their power back on. That's actually incorrect. There's a lot of times where I may still be sitting in darkness sending you guys voice notes just to give you updates about where our outages are. The first thing immediately after a storm is making sure that we do some reconnaissance, looking out to see what type of damage did our system undertake through the hurricane. And we're trying to line up, okay, are there down power lines? Are there down poles? Where the locations are of them? Then for the restoration process, a lot of our underground guys will be going out to our substations, making sure that the sub supplies are back on, making sure that batteries are powered up. Why do we need that? Because our teams back in the operations center are going to be doing a lot of what is called switching and control work, and we want to make sure that they can remotely do some of that at our substations. So that's the first thing. The next piece is once we start getting all of that information into our planning team in terms of where the down lines are, where the poles are, we've got to plan out, as I've said to you before, we've already identified where our crews are going to be, how we're dispersing them across the island, and we're really going to focus in on likely some of the big areas that we can get on. Some of them may require a lot of work. If we've got down poles in the area, that may require us getting support from contractors to put poles up while we work on other areas in terms of the restoration. But really and truly, we got to go for our main lines first, bring them back on, and then we're going to start getting into more the branch lines before we start getting into the individual customers. And it's really about looking at the damaged one and then also looking at where can we get our biggest bang for our buck. So if I see, for example, that we've got a circuit out that's got over 1,000 customers on it, and it's a relatively easy fix that we may be able to bring on 1,000 customers pretty quickly, we're going to try and identify things like that where we can bring on a big lump of customers at one time. Now, when it comes to communicating all of this to our customers, it can be challenging because our guys move very, very quickly. So I know that everybody gets antsy about, hey, where are the guys working? When is power coming back on? My guys are out there hitting the road from really sun up until well beyond sundown. Typically, we will be standing our crews down around midnight or just after so that they can get enough rest time through the night to then come back and start again. But the teams will be working long days, and what I can assure you is we will work until the last customer is back on. Our guys, it's hard work, but they are passionate and they love what they do.
Indeed. I want to transition to electrical safety because this part really does annoy me because it's become a tradition, but it's not a safe practice. After a hurricane, people driving around, but also people not knowing how to use some of the equipment such as generators. So let's speak about it. Electrical safety becomes particularly important during and after a hurricane. What are some of the biggest dangers residents should be aware of, especially when it comes to down power lines as they want to tour the damage in the island or damage the electrical equipment, but also knowing how to use generators? Now, thankfully, I don't believe this has happened in Bermuda, but I remember, in the US some years ago, a whole family was lost because a generator was pumping in fumes or set a fire. Like it was just, speak to us about that stuff.
Sure. Well, the first thing is, obviously, when you have a hurricane, you have a lot of vegetation that is strewn about in the streets. You may get downed power lines, and they can be hidden by vegetation on the ground. So that's the first thing to be cognizant of. always be cautious when driving on the roads. We really don't want anybody on the roads immediately following the storms. That should be reserved for the emergency first response. So the police, members of the EMO, so you would have parks out there trying to clear the vegetation, regiment, BELCO, ambulance, fire, they might be dealing with emergencies. Whenever people are out there on the roads, you actually become a bit of a hindrance because sometimes you only have one lane traffic. There may be trees down blocking roadways. Our teams need to be out there assessing the damage and coming up with a plan of how we're going to restore power as quickly as possible. So stay off those roads. The next thing is, as I mentioned, you can have down power lines which are hidden by vegetation and can be a danger. We want everybody to treat any down power lines as potentially live, which means that you need to stay at least 33 feet away from a power line. If you do encounter a power line, don't run away. Stick your feet as close to as possible together and shuffle away until you're in a safe zone beyond 33 feet away from that down power line. Now, when it comes to generators, there is a challenge that sometimes people may not know how to connect their generators and inadvertently may connect it in the wrong way, where it could actually hurt some of our guys if you are exporting energy onto lines and our guys are working out there. So it's very important to follow all of the guidelines and instructions about safely connecting your generator. When you're operating it, don't operate it in a closed indoor environment. As you mentioned, Jamel, you can get carbon monoxide poisoning. That's actually happened here in Bermuda as well on board boats. I can remember an incident some 20 plus years ago where a generator, the exhaust was blowing into the boat and it was quite dangerous. So that's one. The other thing that people like to do is they like to barbecue. Don't be barbecuing inside either. It's all about using common sense, right? We don't want to have additional, deploying ambulances to go rescue somebody because they've got a fire that started as a result of poor decisions operating a barbecue inside their house, right? Let's reserve our emergency services to deal with the real emergency at hand, and that's responding to the hurricane.
Indeed. My goodness, so much of what you said should be common sense, but I'll leave it there. We're having a very mature conversation. Let's go back to communication because, as mentioned someone earlier about a voice note you sent around, but communication seems to be a challenge, right? You're talking thousands of customers without electricity. Not everyone is up to date with the latest technology. Some people don't know how to report things, and they don't know what updates are reliable and what's not reliable. How should customers, one, report an outage, and where can they get the most reliable updates on restoration efforts following a storm?
Sure. So first thing I would say is we've spent a lot of time over the last 5+ years deploying our advanced metering infrastructure around the island. And that AMI system gets a lot of benefits to the customer and also to us at BELCO. Number one, we can identify where power outages are based on that AMI network because the meters actually respond and they'll send a ping out to say, hey, the power's gone out. I no longer have power. So we can get a large sense of where the outages are, not only from our AMI system, but also from our operations systems and some of the control systems that we use here. So in the first instance, we actually don't want you to call into BELCO to report an outage. What we do want to do is leave those phone lines open in the event that you have any emergencies. So emergencies like if you see a downed power line, if you see a transformer hanging off a pole, if you see a broken pole, if you see sparking lines, sparking wires, if you see a pole fire, that's when you should call in and you call our 24-hour operations center and you would dial 955 to report that emergency. In the first instance, as I say, emergencies only on the 955 line. We can generally and broadly see where all of the large outages are, and we're really formulating our plan on how we're going to respond. We will provide updates always. Krista and her team, the communications team, are very good about posting on social media. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, they will, or X, sorry, I'm forgetting that it's moved over to X now. They'll post all of the information on our social media channels as well as the belco.bm website. information about where crews are working. You can also visit our outage map. So I think everybody's familiar nowadays with the outage map on BELCO. When we have a large number of outages, what we'll do is the map will pivot into showing just the parishes, and you'll see by parish the number of customers that are out in each parish. And you'll have to rely a bit on the social media element to understand where the crews are working, because as I mentioned before, these guys work very quickly and they move quite rapidly. So you might get information that they're working in your neighborhood 1 minute, and then 5 minutes later, the crew's already on their way to another area that's been impacted. So those would be the most important keys. We will let you know when it's time to start reporting outages in. We typically wait until we've got a low customer count, because we generally know where, as I said, where all the outages are based on our AMI network. But we usually put out a broadcast message to say, hey guys, you can now call in and report your outages. And at that time, you can use the 955 number or to call in 295-5111 to report your outage.
Indeed, that is such good information. Thank you for sharing that. Technology has made life easier, folks. You don't necessarily have to call. Emergencies, a don't pull. Emergency could be a transformer. I like that. I did not know that before today. But let's go to the audience. We've got Niley Nevin, Island Girl, saying, what can BELCO do to ensure that people keep their trees cut back from the wires year round? And what legal recourse does BELCO have if they don't?
Yeah, we're challenged a little bit in this regard, because we don't have a lot of legal teeth, to be honest with you, that powers with the government in terms of being able to fine individuals. We typically will, try to encourage everybody to go and have a look at their own property. We will note if there are mainline areas that we can prudently go out and try and do some trimming in advance of a storm to try and take those the trees back from the line. But when it comes to customers, we really just need everybody to work together, because we get it. I've got vegetation on my lane. I have a WhatsApp chat with my neighbors, and we may have some difficult conversations to say, hey, so-and-so, your property is getting up near the lines, but we also come together and say, hey, can we all kind of come together and trim those trees together? Can we help you? What can we do? Because ultimately, your neighbor may be impacting you and your ability to get power back quickly. So what's the old saying? Good fences make good neighbors. I would say good WhatsApp chats make good neighbors, because you can have those types of conversations year round and say, hey guys, let's get out on the lane this weekend and see if we can do some work. But when it comes to us, we don't have a lot of remit, but we just encourage, because at the end of the day, you're going to be irritated when your power's off, and it's because of the trees in your neighborhood.
Indeed. Another question from the audience. Gary Graham over there on LinkedIn says, does BELCO watch other hurricanes that don't hit Bermuda, example Lala in Hawaii, to see what they do and respond and restore? Sorry.
So certainly we do pay attention. I would say more so in the Caribbean. So we're a member of CARELEC, which is a group of electric utilities throughout the Caribbean. And matter of fact, our president and CEO, Wayne Keynes, is actually the president currently of CARELEC. And we have a disaster coordinators WhatsApp chat with all of the utilities within the Caribbean. So in advance of a storm, that WhatsApp chat will start, chiming in, and they'll put notifications saying, such and such a storm is heading towards Jamaica. And they'll start saying, okay, anticipated to hit on such and such a day. And they may start putting out the call for the other utilities within the regions to say, hey, does anybody have any resources that may be available post-storm should Jamaica or whatever that island utility needs post-storm recovery? So we have a good relationship with our brothers and sisters in CARELEC. Post-storm, typically they would ask specifically, I need X amount of linemen or whatever the case may be. And we may be able to say, hey, yes, we can support. We can provide some guys to go down and support with that restoration work. Same way, if a storm's coming to hit us, we can say, hey, can you send up 5 linemen, 6 linemen, whatever the case may be. We have benefited from support from some of the other island jurisdictions, and we ourselves sent down, I think it was a team of 8 linemen recently to help with the restoration from Melissa, because Jamaica had a long period, and I think a long period without power in certain areas in the Northwest. And our guys went down there a couple of months ago to help with that restoration effort.
Oh, wonderful. Love to hear it. Shelly, you've given us a lot of your time. We definitely appreciate the work that you and your team do, and honestly, from trusting this platform to engage. But before you head out, if there are 3 things every household should do before the next hurricane threatens Bermuda to make themselves safer and better prepared for an extended power outage, what would you say to them?
So, a couple things. One, make sure stuff in your yard is secure. We've had trampolines blowing up into our lines before. We've had all kinds of weird things. We've had kites. We've had you name it. I've seen people flying kites after a hurricane, which does my head in a little bit, if I'm honest. But making sure everything on your property is secure. Anything that can lift up, become airborne, and become entangled in the wires, make sure it's secure. So that includes things like palm fronds, so trimming your vegetation, making sure your hedges, your trees, everything are trimmed back well away from the power lines. We talked about making sure your hurricane kit is up to date, so checking to make sure your flashlight has batteries, the batteries aren't dead, having extra batteries, having tarps, having first aid kit. Check all of that stuff now. And then the last piece, like I mentioned before, is having the conversations with your family, maybe some of your elderly neighbors or your family members, your granny, your parents, making sure that they are okay, that they're comfortable, that they have their hurricane kits ready to go. Those would be the things that I would kind of tackle right now, looking at all of that stuff before we have a hurricane coming barreling down at us.
Indeed. Well, Shelly, appreciate you making time for us. And please know if there's any information you'd like us to communicate with our audience and the greater public, feel free to you or Krista and her team reach out to us. Let us know what you need us to engage on your behalf. But again, I really do mean this, despite my bill at times. Thank you guys for all the work that you do. Honestly, it's something that I think you said without saying is, so many people get to be with their families during this time, and the workers out there don't, and you started off when I asked you about things you don't give up on. You said your family and your friends, and I want people to keep that in context. Like, these folks are out working on your behalf to get you up and going, and they're not with their families. They're not able to be there and help clean up their yards because they're out doing the work that needs to be done to get Bermuda back online. So I mean it when I say thank you for all the work that your team and your colleagues, everyone at BELCO does to get Bermuda up and running. We love to brag about how quick Bermuda gets back to normal, but you all play such an important role in making that happen. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that, Jamal. My team, I have to give all the kudos to them. Particularly during a storm, our overhead line guys are working long days. The rest of the team, the fitters, the jointers, our operations center, which is 24 hours a day. These guys work incredibly hard, and I'll share with you, I am traveling today, but this is a good news travel story. So I'm actually traveling to go pick up 7 of our young apprentices that are about to graduate and come back home. So they should be home to help us in the event that a storm comes this season. We're going to have 7 young, fresh new guys that have been out there climbing, learning the tools of the trade, and they'll be back to support us with that. What makes me really excited is, we've had a good run with apprentices over the last 5 years, and our cohort that we brought on board 4 years ago, 5 years ago, some of them have just reached their grade 1 status, which means that they can go and operate on the network largely without supervision. So those guys are becoming our new troubleshooters, the new guys that you're going to see out there day in, day out if a storm does impact us. So exciting stuff. I'm really proud of my guys. They give us a lot of hard work, and often it's only during hurricane times that you see them, but it's important to know that these guys are working hard every day. So a big shout out to them.
Yes, congratulations. We must have some of those apprentices on the show at some point. Yeah, that is big. That is wonderful to hear. Shelly, thank you, and safe travels on picking them up. Please keep in touch.
Thanks so much, Jamal. Thanks for having me. Be safe, everybody.
All right, Shelly, Leman, BELCO, folks, if you appreciated that discussion, make sure you give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure you share it with your friends, your family, your colleagues. We're going to take our final break. Do not go anywhere because we've got a daily play for you, and I'll give you my final thoughts after this.
Yeah, I don't got this. I'm gonna be fast at delivery and run.
Oh, don't pay me enough for that,
Oh, no, sugar! Okay, who's the fastest? Who's the fastest? It's me. Talk to me. No more stress. Just sit back.
Children love to play and have fun. And they love gifts even more, especially ones that they could enjoy and learn from. With Bermuda Trivia coloring books, kids can explore the island while they color, learn, and create. The perfect activity for fun and learning together. Available now.
Visit BermudaTrivia.com and follow Bermuda Trivia on your favorite social media platforms to learn more.
For over 70 years, Bermuda Pest Control has been protecting homes and businesses island-wide. We offer a full suite of services, including rodent control, termite fumigation, and general insect control and maintenance. Our team of experts will quickly and efficiently eliminate any pest problem you may have. With Bermuda Pest Control, you can enjoy a pest-free home in no time. We're committed to providing fast, reliable, and solution-driven services for our customers. It's what we've been doing since 1952. Call Bermuda Pest Control today and say goodbye to pests for good.
Dreaming of expanding your business? With BDC's Loan Guarantee Program, we support your ambitions. Get up to 75% guarantee on bank or credit union loans up to $300,000. Just your vision and our support. Apply today and unlock new business opportunities. BDC, Bermuda Business starts here.
Life moves fast, and so can the unexpected. When you insure your home, you need to know that your insurance company has your back. At Friesenbrook, let one of our friendly and professional agents give you that peace of mind. Because when you are covered, you are confident. Call us at 296-3600 or visit friesenbrook.bm to learn more.
Sometimes, all we need is to relax. Take our minds away from it all. A midday break from the busy day. And just a little time to ourselves. Relax. Take a break. And unwind with Bermuda Trivia's crossword puzzle book. Available now across Bermuda. Visit BermudaTrivia.com and follow Bermuda Trivia on your favorite social media platforms to learn more.
Alrighty, welcome back to the Big Show. Thanks again to Shelly Leman from BELCO. A big up to everyone at BELCO who does the work needed to be done to keep Bermuda going and growing in times of darkness, literally. All right, folks, if you appreciated the discussion, whatever platform you are on and able to, give us a like, love, follow, share the link with your friends, your family, your colleagues, folks. Want to give a big shout out and extend thanks and gratitude to the BAC group of companies, HSBC Bermuda Medical Outlanders, People's Pharmacy, and big shout out to Hot 1075 for ensuring that we can pump through the radio airwaves with these most important community conversations on a regular basis. Folks, it is time for the Daily Play brought to you by Bermuda Trivia. Bermuda Trivia now available at stores throughout Bermuda. Make sure you get Bermuda Trivia Shoe by the Summer Edition, folks. That is one of the most fun Bermuda-made games you will ever play. Shoe by the Summer Edition available at various stores, Brown & Co., People's Pharmacy, Caesar's Pharmacy, Phoenix Stores, Robertson's Flying Collars. Don't miss out. Like, get that game. If you have, corporate events, some family barbecues later in the summer, you can play it year round, but it's summer focused. But make sure you get that game. Follow Bermuda Trivia on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, and TikTok to find out why Bermuda's favorite trivia game. All right. It is a Remember When today, folks. All right. So here's a question that I don't think any of you are going to know, but I'll ask it anyway. Bill Gates and Paul Allen founded Microsoft in what year? You all know it was not 84. WKD Llama. All right. They founded Microsoft in Albuquerque, New Mexico in 1975. 1975. All righty, audience. Well, time to let you go, but before we go out, let's give you my final thoughts, and I'll give you a daily inspiration. But my final thoughts on today, as far as the situation, the immigration screening process. At the end of the day, circumstances change. When someone's processed to work in Bermuda, I believe due diligence is done. But what we have to understand is things may come to light after. The question, should we revisit or reevaluate people during their tenure in Bermuda? Well, that's going to take resources. And while I think in the interest of keeping Bermuda and Bermudians safe, we should dedicate more resources, we have to understand that we are limited. I do believe that a case like this highlights that when international authorities work together, these things can be resolved. But preventable, I'm not quite sure pointing the blame will help us prevent these situations. They may not be as preventable as we think. All I can say is, if you suspect someone, hey, do a little digging yourself. As far as the conversation with Shelly Leman, I think it was so many key things that she said, folks. Helps us understand the processes of how BELCO operates when we lose power, not just during hurricanes, but at any time. It's good to know that they have technology that now lets them know what areas have lost power, so that we don't all have to be calling and letting them know. As much as we complain about social media, we should also be very grateful for it, for giving us the opportunity to engage in times of need. Like, where are you working on? Are you in this area? It's funny when someone mentioned her being the voice note lady, but that's a sign of the times. And I think people are very receptive of that. Long may it continue. Hopefully, we have no more power outages this year, and we escape any form of storm or hurricane. Alrighty, folks, let me give you some daily inspiration. Daily inspiration for the day. I love this quote. And do what you will with it. But it's from my book, The Journey Within. One of the most humbling things in life is knowing that I'm replaceable. Whew. Trust me, folks. It is a humbling thing. We are all replaceable. And never forget that. Alrighty, audience, don't forget to subscribe on our website, thedailyhour.com. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Thanks again to our partners, the BAC Group of Companies, HSBC Bermuda, Medical House, Lindo's, People's Pharmacy, and big love to Hot 1075 for ensuring that we can pump through the radio airwaves with these most important community conversations. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. I'm Jamal Hartman. Please do make it a safe and a great day. We are is out. Peace.